Hello and good afternoon to all you wonderful viewers. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be in your zone virtually this afternoon. Recently, there have been some developments in region number 5, and it requires me as a politician, alongside my colleague, Vinceroy Jordan, to bring these developments to your attention and for you to understand what we are faced with as a country and as a people. And therefore, it is imperative on our part that we keep you informed and in the know. Vinceroy Jordan is the Member of Parliament with responsibilities for Region Number 5, the Mahika Berbice area, and he will be sharing with us some of the unfortunate police and political harassments that have been happening in Region Number 5. Let me welcome Vinceroy Jordan to join me as we take about a half an hour of your time and speak to the issue of police and political harassment in Region Number 5. Vincroy? Vincroy,
Good,
good afternoon. I
good
was
afternoon,
I was
Ganesh.
Yes, I was just telling our viewers, and I will encourage them at the same time to share the live also, so that as many people as possible here in Guyana and around the world can be informed as to what is happening in Guyana. You know, the People's Progressive Party has a practice of basically painting Guyana as this good place right now, as a place that is booming, as a place that is friendly, a place that is, there's no wrong in Guyana. That is what they seem to want to point our country as. And we know differently because we are on the ground and we have been communicating with people across the length and breadth of this country who are on a daily basis complaining about hardship in various forms and formats. But today we want to speak specifically to political and police harassment in region number 5. And you being the member of parliament for region number 5, who have been on the ground, who interacts frequently with communities there, and you have a clearer understanding as to what is taking place on the ground. And that is why I'm going to ask you to speak to us on what is happening in region number 5.
All right. Thank you very much, Ganesh. And I must say good afternoon to our listening and viewing audience. Um, it is indeed unfortunate this afternoon that we have to come live here to bring to the nation's attention some of the issues that are really affecting our people in region number 5. As of recent, you would know that you would have accompanied us in region number 5 on a number of outreaches that, like we're doing across the country. And region number 5 being a region where we have, in various proportions, East Indians, Africans, we have the mixed race, and we also have Chinese to a lesser extent.
Do you
Um,
have Venezuelans? Do you have
Oh yes,
Venezuelans?
oh yes, we do have Venezuelans in large numbers. They're even working at Gaisuku Blatant Estate. They're working at a lot of the lumber yards in region number 5. As a matter of fact, you can recall in Bath Settlement when that stand I made it public, where a Venezuelan who had a public health food handler's certificate that was not properly registered with the regional authority, and he was selling food on the road. So we do have Venezuelans, and they're all over region number 5, not just limited to those areas that I would have mentioned. But what is more alarming and disturbing this afternoon is to let the nation know that it is this one Guyana thing that Irfan Ali speaks about, um, it has far gone from one Guyana. We have in region number 5 a number of communities and residents in those communities that have decided that they are no longer going to support the People's Progressive Party Civic. And they have reached out to us. We have reached out to some. We have representatives in these communities working, and we have a close and growing relationship. And as of recent, the leader of the opposition and the team, including yourself, we visited the Champagne area, both the lower Champagne, which we call the one to the creek, and the top to the Burma Road, predominantly East Indian community. And we were well received. As a matter of fact, they have it was our third visit there, and they wanted to engage the leader of the opposition. They felt that he is genuine. They felt that he really meets and understands the concern and the plight of our Guyanese people. And they looked across or beyond, I should say, racial politics and those barriers, and they reached out to him. And after reaching out to him, just about a few hours after, I can recall that one of the residents who spoke with us at one of our meetings, she made mention to me that there is a particular rice farmer who is instructed by the People's Progressive Party Civic to make certain remarks, threatening remarks to them with regards to why they attended a meeting with the leader of the opposition and members of the coalition, People's National Congress, APNU. But Ganesh, it went beyond that yesterday and more so this morning when we learned that police of the Maikoni police station, they went to a home in Champagne Creek, Maikoni, where we have a family of 4, and they not only met with them, but they ransacked the people's home. They threatened them, allegedly, that is what the family is reporting, and they would have went into the house without a search warrant, as I would understand it. But this is not just that they choose to go there, but it was so direct that it speaks to the political victimization and police harassment by the People's Progressive Party, who we know normally instructs the Guyana Police Force, which is not professional, with the leadership of the current Commissioner of Police. And so they went to harass the residents because they went to a meeting with the coalition members. And that came as a result of the head of that home being a part of the meeting. And when they went there yesterday, they told them about cybercrime, cyberbully, and all the things that concern cyber. And they threatened to take away their laptops and their smartphones. And the children are now traumatized. The children couldn't go to school. The families left in a state of shock that we had to really talk with them to have them, come to a point of stability, to understand that it is not just them, it is something widespread across the country. This is the People's Progressive Party Civic. And this East Indian brother of mine, he is now in a position whereby he has completely lost faith in the Guyana police force, and more so the government of Guyana, to even protect them, because he said when they came, the children, seeing that the police are coming into their home, they got traumatized, and the police didn't went in no ordinary manner, as was related to me. They went and they began searching and pulling and pushing and tumbling.
So,
And so,
Vinceroy, before it gets lost, I want us to establish a couple of facts as was
mm,
reported to us. Now, first, the first fact is the leader of the opposition and a team of members of parliament and staff members and councillors of the PNCR,
Yes.
APNU, visited Champagne at the request of residents in that community.
Yes.
And for people to understand where is Champagne, Champagne is a small community in the.
Oh, seems like we lost Ganesh. Okay. It's back.
Okay, so I was saying that we're establishing a couple of facts that the
Mhm.
leader of the opposition, members of parliament, councillors, and the like, a team, went into Champagne. Champagne is a small community in the Mahaicony area, which is the Demerara Mahaica region. Not the Demerara Mahaica, sorry,
Michael
the
Bobby.
Mahaica
Michael Bobby.
Borbis region, Mahaica Borbis region number 5. And
Hmm.
the village is located in the Burma Road. You have to go down the Burma Road, about 5 minutes drive down the road, and then you turn right and you follow that street or dam, because the
Yeah.
state of it
Yes.
cannot be considered a road. It's not even asphaltic concrete, and it's not even wide enough, in my view, to be deemed a road. And it was the
Mhm.
request of the residents there, who are predominant Indo-Guyanese, as you rightly said. And in fact, I will go as far as to say, because I asked this question when I was there, what is the religious composition of the community? And it was 98% Hindus who live
Yes.
in
Yes.
the
You're correct.
Champagne area. So I am establishing these facts so that residents can get, so that our viewers can get a clear understanding of the community we speak of. And it's a community that is not um, it's not open to all the luxuries that one may enjoy in Georgetown. They still need a recreational facility. They have a small school that needs a serious upgrading. Their health facility, they don't even have a proper health facility. I don't think they have
They
any.
don't. They
In
don't. They
fact,
don't have. They don't have an health center. They
they
have
don't
no health
have. And I
facility.
know that they. Yes, and I know during the 2015 to 2020 period, a doctor would normally go in every month to check out the senior citizens. 3 months after the PPP came to office, they stopped that operation. Doctors don't go to visit these senior citizens now. The senior citizens are burdened with a heavy fee that they have to pay to go out to the hospital and coming back. I think they said to me
Three
$3,000 to go
thousand
out and
dollars
$3,000 to come in.
to come in.
That's $6,000 they have to find off their own. When the previous administration, the AP and UAFC, had a doctor
We had a
utilizing a government
mobile.
vehicle and going into the community and do
Right.
home visits. I'm establishing these facts so that people can understand why is it that this community wanted to see the opposition leader. The opposition leader then made it his duty and honored that request and went to visit the community. At that meeting, and I know our operator may have some pictures of us at that meeting, and I'm sure he will find the time to share it so that so that viewers can know directly where I'm speaking about. And at that meeting, many people spoke to us openly and with confidence. And they basically said that they have no confidence in the People's Progressive Party because of
Correct.
how they're administering the affairs of this country and the distribution of the wealth. They basically endorsed the friends, families, and favorite theme, which is
Yes.
what
Mhm.
centers around the People's Progressive Party. Coming now to this particular family that was harassed by the police force, uh, another fact that I want to establish is that the two children are 5 years and six
And
years of
6 years.
age.
Hmm.
And that's a significant fact that we must understand. How is it that we contribute as a nation to damaging the psyche of children at that tender age when our police force operate in a manner that can only contribute to destroying the minds of these young people? And that is what I want to center this discussion around, this police and political harassment, because the police never went to them before in connection with this kind of ordeal. And now they're told that they have to go to the Mahikoni police station for 8:30 tomorrow morning, after which they are going to be escorted from that station to the cybercrime unit down in Georgetown. So you're traumatizing an entire family, and there is no basis for you to traumatize them. All these people are doing is exercising their constitutional right to associate with a political organization of their choice, which is what is
Correct.
enshrined in Article 147 of our Constitution. Article 147 of our Constitution is very clear. You, as an individual, you have a right to decide which political organization you want to be a part of. Why must the People's Progressive Party target this family and that community? Now, let me say this before I bring you in back, Vincroy. I can say it with confidence because I am an Indo Guyanese too. And I have found that in these rural communities, when Indo Guyanese begin to speak out and speak up against the People's Progressive Party, it is as though we have created and we have committed an offense that somewhere biblically or some book it is enshrined by law. Maybe I don't know if it's God's law or what. That as long as you're Indian, you're supposed to be associated to the PPP. Well, that is not so. It is not so. I have a democratic right as a Guyanese who live in Guyana, who is an Indo-Guyanese, a Hindu by religion, and I have chosen to associate with the People's National Congress Reform because that political party has demonstrated to me, as I can see it is demonstrating to many others, and people are recognizing that they have a better people centered approach to governance, and they have a better manner in terms of distributing wealth to the ordinary, hardworking, tax-paying Guyanese. So I don't know why the People's Progressive Party seems to believe that Indo Guyanese have to be associated with them. And if you're not associated with them, then you become a target, you become a victim, and you're faced with political harassment where they use the Guyana police force to conduct political harassment of people. What is your take on that, Vincroy? And as I hand the floor back to you, here are some pictures of that visit that we had at Champagne Region 5.
Well, Ganesh, whilst the viewers are looking at the pictures, I am of the view that Jagdio believes, and it's Jagdio in the People's Progressive Party, believes that he somehow has some transport over all East Indian communities, all Amerindian communities, all Chinese, whatever. But he is the owner and he directs who they support, when they support, and if they ever choose to support somebody outside of the PPP. But I am saying to Jack Dio this afternoon and the People's Progressive Party Civic that enough is enough, and many of the communities that they thought would have sat idly by now and just allow them to do as they want as a government. People are fed up and people are quickly gravitating, as you would have said, to a people-centered approach, people-centered government. Who has that plan? Once get into government, they would look after the welfare and well-being of the people. And I must point out to you before I get back to the police that this here in Champagne is not the first of its kind in region number 5. You would recall that the Aziz family in Bushlat, when they joined the People's National Congress reform, and they supported us openly at the 2020 general and regional elections, the butcher shop was burned completely to the ground. You would recall that Mrs. Aziz could not have stayed in her home alone at certain times because they had persons coming and attacking her at the home. You would also recall that in Bath settlement, they burnt an entire farm, destroyed it because they thought that Bath settlement and Bushlat belongs to them. And so the PPP, they are of the view that all East Indians must support the People's Progressive Party Civic. But it is slowly changing, and it is changing to the point that Guyanese are fed up of the People's Progressive Party Civic, and Guyanese are gravitating to the coalition. Ganesh, I want you to also know that not so long ago, just about a month or two, I had to leave my West Borby's location one afternoon and with a few comrades and go to Bath settlement. And this was reported to the leader of the opposition. He's aware because there is another family in Bath settlement who decided to hold a meeting with members of the People's National Congress Reform at their bottom house. They have a lovely business there. And because the meeting was with members of the People's National Congress Reform, the PPP immediately launched an attack on them. And that family suffers even to today. Suddenly, GRA knew that they had to go and check on the family's business to see whether they have license. Suddenly, Central Housing and Planning Authority knew that the family could not have had two businesses in that housing scheme area, which is in Bath Settlement. Suddenly, the Neighborhood Democratic Council knew that they had to go and check on the business owner to see if he's in compliance with all the rules and regulations of the NDC. And so it is something that is ongoing. Once residents decide that they are no longer supporting the People's Progressive Party, they come under severe attack, whether they use the Guyana police force, whether they use other agencies of the state, they use them so as to gain or to conduct their own political wills. I will go further to say again that the residents in Bath Settlement allege that one regional councillor, Adrian Singh, who lives just a stone throw from one of the residents, he comes around harassing, allegedly, and attacking and threatening the residents because they had a meeting at their front yard with about, I wouldn't go into the numbers, but large numbers of our Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters who turned up to listen to the People's National Congress Reform. But these are some of the things that they don't tell the public, that the people are quickly moving away from the People's Progressive Party Civic. They don't tell the public that the people are calling on the APNU and the People's National Congress Reform as a means of support and rescue, but they're painting this picture that all is well in Guyana, one Guyana, and that even their own supporters are still with them. But this is something the leaders always pointed out, that it is evident and it is true that in these strongholds of the PPP that there are many disgruntled supporters. Because in Bath Settlement, the residents made mention to us that some of the issues are those of the distribution of the nation's wealth, be it the cash grant, be it agricultural tools, farming equipment, you name it. It doesn't go equally to all. It is the friends, families, and favorites. The residents further highlighted in Bath Settlement, Ganesh, that the Honorable Member of Parliament, Faisal Jafar Ali, they allege that he, from his Freedom House office in Bath Settlement, had someone make phone calls to the residents and say to them they must never allow another PNC team to operate or meet with residents in Bath Settlement, and if they only make Jagdio know. Now I want to say to Faisal Jafar Ali that whether Jagdio knows or not, we will continue to campaign in the East Indian communities. We will continue to meet out to their needs. We will continue to meet out to them as a form of support and rescue. We will continue to engage them. And no one from the People's Progressive Party Civic will stop us from going into those communities, because they are all Guyanese and they deserve to be represented. The police now. Ganesh.
No, let me say this before you go to the police. What you have just outlined in terms of the decline in the Indo-Guyanese communities at the for the People's Progressive Party is substantiated by the results of the local government elections.
Correct.
If
Correct.
people carefully analyze the local government elections we had in 2023, you are going to see that there was a clear decline in the numbers in these stronghold PPP areas where they used to get 300 votes, they now enjoy 240. Where they used to get 500 votes, they now enjoy 400. And this is the flake off theory that we have always spoken to, where more and more Indo Guyanese are becoming energized, bold, and courageous to stand up against the bullying of the People's Progressive Party. It is a very slow process, but it is happening. It is happening. I mean, we are speaking here about region number 5, but I can make similar references to region number 3 and the popular anti data that everybody has been seeing time and time again with that threat that she faced with her land and how she spoke out courageously that should the PPP lose the elections, they will lose by her vote because she has no interest in giving them any vote because of what they are doing to not only her but the entire island of Wakenham. A similar situation is in Leg 1 and so on. But not to take away from Region 5, Viceroy. The point ought to be made that Indo Guyanese and Amerindian Guyanese are
Mhm.
becoming bolder by the day to stand up against this demonic People's Progressive Party, and they are recognizing that the People's Progressive Party has a manner in them or a way in them where they try to indoctrinate and they try to tell Indians and Amerindians that the Africans are bad. But people have recognized that from 2015 to 2020, when we had the APNU AFC government in office, there was no discrimination against any Indian community. There was no discrimination against Amerindian communities. I recall that with the limited resources that we had, we were spending in an equitable way, trying to lift communities that
Correct.
suffered for 23 odd years under the PPP to bring them up to a standard where they can enjoy the basic amenities like what Georgetown was enjoying. Take, for example, I'm going to reference Wakenham again in Region 3. 23 years of the People's Progressive Party, 1992 to 2015. They have always voted outright for the People's Progressive Party. They have always done that. We in government never neglected them of asphaltic concrete roads. As a matter of fact, under our administration in 2015 to 2020, it was the first time some villages knew and felt and walked on asphaltic concrete roads.
Street
23
lights
years
too.
of the PPP, that same island never knew what streetlights were.
Street
They never
lights. Yes.
had a
I
street light
remember
on the
that.
post, on the electric post. Under the AP and UAFC, they got that, they saw that, they enjoyed that. Under the AP and UAFC, they were flooding and their seawalls and so on were a deplorable state. We fixed it. The secondary school, we renovated it. The health centers, we renovated it. So it is like sometimes when I hear people talk about this belief that you are supposed to be PPP once you're Indian, I am happy to recognize and realize that people like myself and more like me are seeing that it doesn't have to be like that. We don't have to be captives in that political party. We can open our arms, we can fly our wings, and we can make the bold step. We can continue to move in the direction of recognizing that we have that power to decide. We can choose where we want to go. And a lot of people like me and a lot of indigenous people are recognizing that and they're making that change. I want to say this before I hand the back to you, Viceroy, as we move to wrap up. I want to say that the APNU, the People's National Congress Reform, will always stand up for people who are disenfranchised, people who are being neglected, people who are being targeted, and people who are facing political victimization. We will always stand with you. 2015 to 2020, we demonstrated our ability to focus heavily on the ordinary, hardworking, tax-paying Guyanese of this country. And going forward, after the elections of 2025, when I have no doubt we will return to office, we will continue to demonstrate leadership in a manner where we are your servants, where we recognize and understand that service to you is what we were put there for. Not like what the People's Progressive Party is doing. Almost all of them are engaged in filling their pockets to the point where I think the Guyana Police Force top brass got jealous, and that's why we're now seeing how much money they really have in their respective bank accounts. But listen, don't let me look at Brutus' bank account alone. We could still look at Hickens' bank account. We could still look at Budram bank account, Karimbak's bank account. All of them, their bank accounts should be examined. And we will see how many of them had touched their last salary and how many of them have properties and how many of them are engaged in irregular activities. Now, mind you, the Guyana Police Force, the Guyana Police Force has some very dedicated men and women in uniform. Some majority of them, they wear the blue, black, and white. But some of them with those brown clothes, they are demonic to say the least. Whilst we have some who genuinely want to see the force return to its glorious days of protecting and serving the people. We in the APNU, we in the APNU and the PNCR, we are committed to returning this country to its glorious days. Vincroy, go ahead and you have the final say.
Yes, Gani. So I want to say, before I go to the Guyana Police Force, that all Guyanese have the right to choose whichever political party, as you would have mentioned, they want to associate themselves with. And so I don't see why the PPP continues to go down this road as saying that once you're living in these communities that they perceive to be theirs, at one time they paint it as green and red communities, that you ought to be supporters of them. But the Guyana Police Force, Ganesh, first and foremost, I believe that some of the reason why these things are happening and we having all these political and police harassment is because the commissioner of police acting, albeit, is unfit for that job. He should not be there. As a matter of fact, the leader of the opposition would have said that many, many times. And I want to reinforce that statement. He is unfit and should not be there. Because if the commissioner of police is one that is professional and cannot be bribed in any way and cannot be shaken easily, nobody could instruct the members of the Guyana Police Force to go into communities, harass our citizens, and then believe at the end of the day it will be all well and nice. But the police knows that they don't have anyone to represent them, and so they know that when they go out there, when the instructions come, they got to follow. But I oftentimes listen to one former senior police officer who stood up to the People's Progressive Party, Civic Mr. Paul Slow, and he would outline what are some of the things you need to do and stand up to the Guyana, to the leadership, and don't take commands or instructions that are not legal, or instructions that are not lawful. And so I'm saying the Guyana Police Force, as a matter of fact, now there should be further investigations or continued investigations into the entire top brass and those senior police officers. And to bring it home, I want the commissioner of police, because I know they will listen and I know they will cut from us what we say and send to them, and they would want to either act on the police officers or they would want to act on the resident. Some they would take action, but I want them to immediately deal with the officers at the Maikoni police station who would have went to the home of those residents in Champagne, and to have an investigation and let us know whether they even had a search warrant, because they could not produce a search warrant to the family to say that they're coming to search their property. They could not produce any warrant to the family to say that they're about to seize their cellular phone and their laptops and electronic devices. As a matter of fact, one of the officers who were there, he said that they should not take the cell phones and other electronic devices from the families and from the family, and he insisted that the other ranks below him should not engage in taking the family's devices. Now, Ganesh, it is clear that it all this is happening as a result of the visit of the leader of the opposition into Champagne. We don't have to go far, because all the time Champagne village is there, all the time these young people are living there, all the time they have been good citizens of in that community. How suddenly a popular rice farmer could threaten the residents? Some were even told by their employers, as I was reliably informed, that if they only attend or being caught or seen attending another People's National Congress reform meeting or being seen among the opposition, they will lose their jobs, be it at the rice mill, be it at wherever they're working. The employer said to them they will lose their jobs. And so this here is clear-cut political and police harassment in region number 5, Ganesh. And I'm saying to the government of Guyana that they need to stop this now, and that the People's National Congress reform will stand with our supporters in those communities. They will stand with the residents in every community that reaches out to them. As a matter of fact, we have been championing the cause of region number 5 by as an entire region since we have been in government, and we continue to do it in opposition. We built, Ganesh, permit me to say, in Cotton Tree, the same community that they love. They left a broken down health center. We went and built a brand new state of the art health center in the village of Cotton Tree. Anybody that passes along the west coast of Berbice, just before you approach the Berbice River Bridge, a few villages before, you will see on your left what we would have built. And they are saying to Guyanese that we don't like East Indians. But look, people are look far beyond that nonsense, that political thing that they normally use in those communities. People see and people know that the People's National Congress reform, APNU, we are genuine when we speak, Ganesh. And I believe it is time that the People's Progressive Party understand that Guyanese are no longer what they believe they were, as they would refer to them sometimes as gullible, and laugh when they leave the meetings that they have to turn up because they come and they tell them a few nice words. But the table has turned, times have changed, and the people are no longer gullible as they would normally refer to them as. They are sensible, intelligent, smart Guyanese who are prepared to make the best and the right decision for their future. And that decision is to support the APNU at the next general and regional elections.
Well, as I have said, they are. I know I said you would have the last say, but I must say to the viewers also that we have not forgotten the Henry boys. We have not forgotten Harish Singh, who were brutally murdered right there in region number 5 in early 2020 or midway thereabout. We have not forgotten police brutality and harassment with the Oran Boston situation. That man from Dartmouth on the Essequibo coast. There was the
Yeah.
Quindon Bacchus issue also. And we can make reference to so many other issues that are related to police harassment and political harassment in our country. But I want to thank the viewers for tuning in at such short notice. And I want to let them know that these families that were harassed at Champagne, that we, the APNU, we will stand with them. We will provide them resources to get past this turbulent period, and we will continue to rally with them, stand with them, and stay focused with them, because our job, even though we are limited in terms of our scope with resources, our job is to be servants to the people. And with that, I want to thank you, Vince Roy, and
Just
thank.
just before you go,
Go
Ganesh,
ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
but I want to further say that to the families that are being targeted by the Guyana Police Force in Champaign, Maiconi, that we will stand with them. And tomorrow, when they have to go to the police station, report to the police station, and then they said they're going to escort them to the cybercrime unit in Georgetown, we will be there with them. And every other Guyanese that supports the People's National Congress reform of East Indian descent and the PPP comes after them, we will stand with them and support them. And so, be it that we provide the legal representation, whatever it is and it takes, we will stand with them to ensure that the Guyana Police Force does not trample upon their rights and that the People's Progressive Party civic government does not get away with the harassment that they intend to do and perpetrate on our people. We will stand with the residents of Champaign, Maikuni.
Yes, in fact, all Guyanese, whoever are affected by this People's Progressive Party government and the barbaric nature in which they tend to operate, we will stand with you. Reach out to us, we will stand with you. That is our commitment, and we promise you to be better than these people and how they're operating. With that, thank you very much for joining Vince Roy and I in this impromptu televised program where you have viewed us speaking on police and political harassment in region number 5. And sometimes we went off topic and spoke to other matters, but they all encompass this one system that we have where it is not one Guyana, but rather a one sided Guyana that benefits only a few who happens to be friends, families, and favorites of the People's Progressive Party. Thank you, and do see you another time.
Thank you, Ganesh.